They believe that it was leaked by Kirill Dmitriev, who is Putin's henchman, if you will, who has been meeting with Steve Witkoff to develop this plan in meetings in Miami as well. Now, they believe that he leaked this to Axios in order to get ahead of the story, a jump on the story to make it really seem like this was a win for Russia. Now, if we want to try to crawl into his mind, there's a number of things that we can, kind of assume. But it's interesting that this came out after a very quickly deleted post by Steve Witkoff on Twitter that appeared to indicate that he thought someone named K was the source of this information.
We're trying to pick through this extraordinary 28-point plan that's been leaked in the last couple of days, particularly today, actually. We have, just in the last couple of hours, the whole 28 points of a plan drawn up between Russia and the United States of America with regards to peace in Ukraine. It makes some extraordinary concessions, doesn't it, of Ukraine, and brings Russia back into the global sphere of influence. In the last couple of hours, President Zelensky has posted his response on social media. One of our producers, James, has voiced this up for us.
Today I
had a meeting with representatives of the United States, a high-level delegation, and a very serious conversation. The American side presented its proposals, the points of a plan to end the war, their vision. From the first days of the war, we have upheld one very simple position. Ukraine needs peace, a real peace, one that will not be broken by a third invasion. A dignified peace, with terms that respect our independence, our sovereignty, and the dignity of the Ukrainian people.
President Zelensky reacting to that 28-point plan. Let's speak to Caitlin Doornbos, who is the New York Post's Washington correspondent. Caitlin, thank you for being with us. You are right at the heart of this story tonight, because as I understand it, you have been speaking to officials in the US who have confirmed the details that we have here in this 28-point plan are accurate. Is that right?
That's correct. I've spoken to very senior U.S. officials who say that the plan is exactly as it has been reported, and additionally gave me some further details of how that came to be. Apparently, it came to be with the inputs of both Moscow and Kyiv.
Oh, so Kyiv involved as well. That's a new development.
Yeah, that's a really key development as well. These senior U.S. officials told me and really emphasized that during a recent meeting between Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Rustem Umerov, the National Security Council, Defense Council leader of Ukraine, they met in Miami. And after that meeting, that's when the draft was drawn up. It was done so with at least an understanding from Umerov that he believed or quote unquote gave positive signals about its in what it entailed, and then the draft was proposed and shared with both Kyiv and Moscow.
Right. Okay. So and let's just be clear here, Caitlin. We're talking about very substantial concessions that Ukraine would have to make, ceding territory, including parts of the Doornbos that they currently do actually occupy. That would be de facto recognised as Russia, including by the United States of America. So are you telling us tonight that effectively Kyiv have signalled at least that they would be willing to make those concessions? Is that what we read into this?
I don't want to say Kyiv, but I do want to say Rustem Umerov.
Right.
That's what I'm being told by U.S. senior officials. As we know, all too well within the Trump administration, I don't take anyone's word until it comes out of the president's mouth when it comes to appropriate, what goes to. And that goes for Ukraine. I don't take Ukraine's word until it comes out of President Zelensky's mouth. I did hear from senior U.S. officials that it wasn't a quote-unquote wholehearted acceptance by President Zelensky, but apparently he was warmly receptive of the reporting.
Right. And we're talking here about a report that was leaked by somebody somewhere. And so that presumably has to have been done with intent. What do you think the intention of us having this now in the way that we've had it is?
Well, I can tell you, first of all, what my senior officials believe happened. They believe that it was leaked by Kirill Dmitriev, who is Putin's henchman, if you will, who has been meeting with Steve Witkoff to develop this plan in meetings in Miami as well. Now, they believe that he leaked this to Axios in order to get ahead of the story, a jump on the story to make it really seem like this was a win for Russia. Now, if we want to try to crawl into his mind, there's a number of things that we can, kind of assume. But it's interesting that this came out after a very quickly deleted post by Steve Witkoff on Twitter that appeared to indicate that he thought someone named K was the source of this information.
Yeah, and so the assumption there is that he was attempting to perhaps DM somebody, or he was private messaging somebody.
Yeah, the assumption there is that Ambassador Witkoff was trying to direct message someone about who he thought was the source of the information that was reported in the article that quoted Dmitriev and also had some information on Steve Witkoff himself and his dealings with the story. So we can take from that quickly deleted post that certainly it wasn't Witkoff who leaked it, if you want to believe the, what he said, but it certainly was. It could have been Russia, who was quoted in the piece.
Okay, what a fascinating mess this whole thing has been, hasn't it? Caitlin Doornbos, thank you so much for your time tonight. I really appreciate it. Right at the centre of that reporting from the New York Post's Washington correspondent there, speaking to senior US officials, confirming that 28-point plan.
The Ukrainian President, Volodymyr Zelensky, has said he's ready to work with the US on his draft proposal to end the war. He's expected to speak with Donald Trump in the coming days. 28-point plan for peace is what we're talking about here. And the Times foreign correspondent Mark Bennett joins us now.
Hello.
Yes, hi. Thanks for joining us. What do you make of this? And, what are his chances of flying? What happens next?
I think the chances of the plan being adopted as it reads at the moment are quite close to zero. Obviously Zelensky's going to say to Trump, yeah, we'll discuss it, we'll talk about it, but he's already signaled that it contains lots of unacceptable red lines for Ukraine, such as handing over territory, handing over Crimea, handing over Donetsk and Lugansk regions, essentially.
Also, a line about making Russia an official part of Ukraine.
That's just straightforward, probably. The language issue is very emotive, very sensitive in Ukraine. But Ukraine is already Ukraine's deputy envoy at the United Nations at the Security Council said last night, we're not going to accept this. It's unacceptable for us. So I think that Zelensky will speak to Trump, but we won't see a deal. There's also very strange lines in it. It reads like it was written by, I don't know, someone who doesn't really understand the situation. And some of the lines are just incredible. It's like one of the lines is, it's expected that Russia will not attack neighboring countries. Why not just Russia will not attack neighboring countries? There's also, if Ukraine launches without reason a missile at Moscow or St. Petersburg, then the deal will be void. So what about, for example, Kazan or Tomsk or Omsk or Novosibirsk? It's just full of holes. There's also a bizarre line about renewing the START 1 nuclear treaty, which expired in 2009, and no one's been talking about it for years. It's a deal that's not even on the table anymore.
We're used to Donald Trump being sort of unpredictable, and sometimes he surprises us pleasantly. More often than not, it's the other way. But there are shrewd, well-educated, clever people at the Pentagon, at the State Department, even in the White House. How does something like this get to a level where we're all discussing it as something that one of the most powerful people in the world is advocating? When clearly it is so sort of full of holes?
Interestingly, the Kremlin hasn't even endorsed it yet. The Kremlin said we haven't even seen the plan. So the Kremlin is distancing itself from it, mainly because I think they realize it has no chance. That's one possible reason. As to your question, it looks like it was written by Steve Witkoff, Trump's special envoy, who Trump himself admitted before he was appointed to the role, had knew nothing about Russia, knew nothing about Putin, and wasn't very interested. But anyway, he was named Trump's main envoy of the Ukraine war. And Kirill Dmitriev, who's the head of Russia's sovereign wealth fund, who he's the most US savvy person in the Russian negotiating team. But like they just put it together. I mean, in Florida, and then I don't know. I mean, I don't know how was it seen by any foreign policy experts in the United States, or did Witkoff just draw it up himself? I don't know.
Fascinating.
It's bizarre.
Bizarre indeed.
It's also yeah. I mean, it's not all. We don't even know if Putin is going to accept it because, as far as we know, Putin wants to take Kiev, and that doesn't give him Kiev.
Well, thanks very much, Mark, for joining us. Mark Bennett there, one of our foreign correspondents.